to the Raw Adult Sexpectation podcast. I am your host, Miss Nita Love, your certified sexologist located here in Huntsville, Alabama. So we are here. We got some new panelists. We got some fan favorites. Y'all already know. So we're going to go ahead and have them introduce themselves so we can go ahead and get into the hot topics, okay? So we're going to start from Gabe.
Okay. Gabriel Lyrics. I'm an artist here in Huntsville, Alabama. Every Friday, you can catch me at the Note Jazz Lounge doing Verbal Liquid Poetic Vibes. Other times, you can catch me doing other things throughout the city. Yeah, that's that.
All right. Hey.
I am LaRue. My intro is not as, horrifying as Gabe, but yeah, I'm not a celebrity like you, sir. But no, I am a therapist at Alabama A&M University, so I'm big on men's mental health and just mental health in general. So that's why.
Hi, my name is Nika Smith. I have a background in psychology, and I'm also a domestic violence survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Lawrence Souffrant. Y'all know me, Mr. Masculinity himself, holding it down for the brand. Y'all can catch me on YouTube, IG, Facebook, the whole vibe. I do a lot.
Hi, I'm Chelsea. I'm your local favorite loctician. And since everybody's sharing, I do have a psychology background as well. But yeah, that's it.
Oh, I'm educated.
Period. 2 degrees.
I'm Justin Lockett. I'm from Huntsville, Alabama. I'm a nonprofit, and I also act a little bit.
All right, y'all. So we want to just introduce this podcast. This is the Raw Adult Sexpectation podcast, where we talk about everything around relationships, sex, which is our hot topic, but just expectations. We live in a world where there are a lot of expectations around sex, so we want to make sure that we give it to you raw. We give it real, and it's going to be a good time. That's our biggest thing here, right? So, as we say, we live. So, it's really live. So, y'all get on here, ask questions, talk with us, just have a good time with us. And we see your comments. We will talk to you. We'll vibe with the audience. Thank y'all for coming in, which goes to number 1. So, we did a community vote, and we talked about where did you learn the most about sex? So, where did sex come up? Where did this come from? The poll questions. First thing said church and school. That's A.
Church.
Number 2 is church school.
Church school.
Okay. Number 2 is lived experience. Number 3 is a partner that talks to you about sex or pornography, right? So this came up as where did we learn about sex? Who put the sex goals out there? You know what I'm saying? So that came up, and we had 500 voters, and the top one was lived experience. All right, y'all, what y'all think about that? Like, we got who told us that sex is sex? Like, how do we don't just grow up knowing that sex is sex, do we?
I think you do.
Do you? You think it's a human emotion?
I think it's encoded in us, just like eating, right? So as soon as a baby is born, it pretty much knows to latch on and feed.
Okay.
So the same way our hormones is what it is, I just think this program within us.
Okay.
So our body, we breathe, we eat, we drink, we have sex.
Right.
So it just, even if nobody ever told you, you're going to start getting that sensation down there.
Yeah.
If you look at something that you're attracted to, you're going to be attracted to it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if you're hungry, you're going to know to eat. A baby knows to eat. Just there.
You're gonna starve.
You're gonna starve.
Not gonna starve.
So that's where the question came from. So isn't the votes talking about 42% of people said that they learned sex from just lived experience? So like going through the day-to-day motions, like touching or being in sexual situations, right? We don't just talk about it. That's crazy to me that school and church was the lowest. Only 8% of the voters, 40% of the voters out of 500 said school and sex, school or church.
So when you said, I thought it was at the top. I'm like, these people learning this.
No, the lowest of the bottom poll was at school, meaning like sex ed in schools. or church. So did any of y'all learn sex ed from school?
I actually did. We actually had to. You had to pass sex ed. I'm from Chicago, so
Okay.
we actually.
But all right.
Now,
Wait,
hold on, the
wait,
teaching
wait.
part, they probably wasn't
That's
teaching.
okay.
You know what I'm saying? It was giving out information.
There we go.
So to speak.
Okay.
Or more so trying to scare you with how
Yeah.
herpes look, or I think it was more scare tactic versus the educational piece.
Okay, that's a good one. So if you did learn it in church and school, it was based off of a
You
fear.
learned this in church though.
No, they talk about sex, but it's what she just said is in a fear context. Don't have it until you're
You going to
married.
hell?
I
Like
think-
it's one of them. Like,
I think that in church thing isn't really like church pastor. It's like experience with like your church friends,
Mm-hmm.
your church. You know what I'm saying?
If
Like
we're talking that.
that's how I took it. Like church and school, church. Like that's how I took it. Like
Well, you want to be honest, but for the school part to be low, that's surprising because most of your relationships is how you learn about.
and who you about to have sex with?
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that overlaps the in-person experience. That was C, right?
Right.
And so I think the general consensus here is we learn about sex through sexual interactions, which I do consider as the highest, the second one being porn. I don't know if porn was the second highest.
Porn actually was.
Okay,
Porn was voted at 28%.
Yeah, so I can see that. And when we're talking about it, depending on the age level, most of the time we're exaggerating it anyway. I know when I was in middle school and high school, and yes, we were having sex in middle school. We would not. When I say we, I mean me and my friends. none of you people here,
We
right?
don't know those.
Sorry, mom, if you're watching.
Yeah.
But we would exaggerate how much sex we're having because we were in that stage of our life where we wanted to be a man. And so it wasn't really even about the sex as much as it was about the manhood. And for a lot of boys/men, sex becomes that rite of passage into a status that says you are, like you him. And so that sucks for the ladies because a lot of, I mean, once again, from my experience, a lot of the ladies actually cared about you. And you're like, I'm trying to grow in status. Like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to get this.
Who's your friend?
Yeah, you feel me? So like you call her home, you talking sweet when she leaves, you call her nigga, guess what? And that was when you were younger. Then you mature and then you evolve, God willing. We've had side conversations about that. But you evolve and then things start to shift. But you learn what is generally good, what's generally bad, right? And then as you evolve in relationship, you learn the specifics of this is what my partner likes.
I think that's good. So y'all in the comments, y'all talking to us, the results are in. Like, where did you learn the most about sex? I mean, that's where the question comes from. Did you learn that from school? Did you learn that from partners or just lived experience or pornography, which is pretty like number 2, which I was expecting it to be number 1 because I feel like a lot of people go to it to kind of like to pump themselves up a little bit, like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I need to we like, you don't know how to cook something, you go to YouTube. You know what I'm saying? So I would think that would be the same thing for like pornography, in a way where I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Let me go look so I can learn more or whatever.
Well, I could say for young boys, a lot of us found porn by accident. What? Yeah, no, seriously. Like we will look up. Like I'll give you an example. When games was really big, you looking for like cheat codes.
Look up.
Yeah, like
You said back in the day.
when the internet was new.
Okay.
no,
Not
'cause,
to like intentionally find it. But
Exactly.
To, like, you type in something in and you trying to look for something and then it's like a pop-up. And pop-ups were a thing.
Yep.
Like
And once you see them titties, it's like, wait, I want more of this.
Oh no, because it's like you gotta think about like because it was what HBO and Emmanuel,
Real
like,
sex?
real sex, like so I think
Real
Cinemax
sex
like
was the one. Yeah.
We didn't have
VCR. So
we didn't have the channels, so we used to sit and watch through the squiggly lines and wait for them. Yep, and every now and then it came in for a few seconds, and then you got the your hand set on the previous channel.
Yeah, to go back to this. Yep. Back.
but it was VCR though.
so our parents had VCRs, and so they would have VCR tapes in the closet, VHS tapes. And at that time, when you put the tape in, whatever number it's on, you have to remember. So if it's on
Oh wow.
10034, you got to rewind it back to 10034.
Yeah.
So your parents won't know that you've been looking at it. So
Right.
So that's what it's like to have a father in the house.
You know, let me wait. One got to look right.
So y'all in the comments, I don't know if y'all talking to us. We got somebody looking at the comments, so they'll come in and talk to us about, you know,
Oh,
we
you want
talk.
another comment?
Yeah. So what the comments say?
One person said, Maranatha said, she learned from partners and one partner introduced pornography. And then somebody else said that she learned from school in Harvest, right here in Harvest. And it definitely wasn't a scare tactic. And then she said, Dr. Sue on oxygen.
Dr. Sue?
I don't know what
I
that
think what happens is the language, right? So when you say learn, some people are thinking introduce,
Okay.
and those can be two different things.
Right.
So what introduced you to it, and then what did you learn? So like porn could have introduced you to sex, still could have learned from porn, but you might have actually got that experience, the actual experience, the detail of what to do with their partner.
Right.
So when you are asking that question, it's like, okay, what are we actually saying here? So like for me, I think I was introduced to sex through porn,
Right.
you know, whether it's like video or magazines. And through magazines, you know, looking at, okay, this is the woman's anatomy. That's that. Okay, then watching porn. Okay, this goes there. He's doing this right here. And for me, I was literally studying it. Like, okay, what's that hole? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I was like 6th grade and didn't know what
was what. Mm-hmm.
But that person, you know, put it there. And then next thing you know, hey, your mama calling you, so I had to get up and go. The next time, you know, I'm searching. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, you know, but then you finally find what you're looking for, and then there it is, you know what I'm saying? But before that actual experience to know exactly what I was doing, it was through porn that I had a general idea of what you were supposed to do.
Right. So so what the crazy thing was with the poll, no one talked about parental or nobody talked about parents. It was all through outside sources that we learn about sex, whether that's through lived experience, whether that's through school, church, like no, the responsibility of it falls on who. And then if you got to say, okay, I learned everything I need to know about sex through lived experience, then do you know anything?
That's a good question.
Yes.
Do you?
Yes, you know something.
I'm just saying, like, do you know what you know, or do you know what
You know what you know.
encounter?
know.
Right.
But you don't, I think the better way to phrase it is you don't know what you don't know. Right? Because I know for me, once I got committed in my relationship and, you know, I got married and we've been having sex for a while, there was a point where I said, you know, I wonder if I could take this to the next level. Now, I am a naturally curious person, but that's when I started reading about, you know, like I think one of the first books I really read on it that put me on was The Multi-Orgasmic Man. I'm like, men can have multiple orgasms? Like, what's that about?
Right.
And in reading it, and I learned about the breathing techniques and the difference between orgasm and ejaculation, there was nobody in my circle was going to put me on to that, right? So now I'm putting my circle onto that, but it started with that, I wonder if this can be better. So now it's like, I realized the sex that I was having was good at the time, but it was trash in comparison
So when
to
you learn.
Yeah.
I think schooling kills our imagination anyway. So even it blends over into sexuality. So like, you know, when you're in kindergarten, you in elementary, you have this imagination. You know, you can be all kinds of things. You can do all kinds of things. You explore. You're curious. You lack fear. You know, in some regards. So if we didn't have such fear tactics when it came to sex, I think we would be more exploratory than what we are with sex.
Right.
Because for one, if you grew up in the church, it's a sin. You're going to hell. You masturbate, you're going to hell. All of those things. So you don't even explore yourself fully because it's like I masturbate and I feel bad.
Right.
Now I gotta pray to God for repentance. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, my mom swear that this isn't true, but this lady brought an abstinence poster and put it on my wall.
Oh,
That was our sex talk.
Wow.
that was the sex.
That was the talk.
My God.
So I think that's where you come from. What you said,
It's taboo.
it's but I think not
That was
only
the
where you learn matters, like what introduced matters, but the experiences you go through, you either learn good experiences or you learn some really, really bad ones, right? And so that space is big too. So when you speak on sexpectations, a lot of them are your expectations of things that you've learned or experienced or seen. What you consider right or wrong, but like Lauren said, but is it right or wrong? You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where, like you said, you don't go and read and look at it for yourself, then you can be so unfamiliar with sex. For real, you could be a stranger to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
And I want to build on that. I'm sorry, but I want to take it from the church perspective because I am a pastor. For those that don't know, and when I bring up sex in front of the church, there is this nervousness that comes, and I'm like, well, number one, y'all already having it, right? That's number one, right? Number two, well, those who aren't married are having it more than the married folks. In the church, I'm talking in general, married folks are having really, but it's true. I think it's a fair thing to bring up. The part of the reason why married folks are having bad sex is because it's not talked about. And it's called dirty and it's called nasty and you expect people to turn that sin thing off after marriage. But I'm like, no, if you thought it was bad, I look at sex as a beautiful thing, married or not. Sex in marriage, I think, is most beautiful from my own experience and from the experience of others. I never supported demonizing sex, right? So I bring it up as a pastor to make it more comfortable, to say it's okay to have your partner whichever way because y'all vow to each other, especially if you're going to promote a monogamous structure, then you should be able to explore every crescent, like every wrinkle and every fold. Like you should be able to know where the nerve endings are most activated, when it's most activated. Your partner should be your textbook sexually. So when I bring that up, the room gets a little quiet in the church, and I'm like, I'm still gonna be the one to do it because like those that know me will say at the end of it, after they get quiet and I get off, they'll say, I'm so glad you brought that up because I've been thinking, and that's why I do what I do.
But some of them could be quiet because they married and you have this idea that they having bad sex, but a lot of married folks I see, they having nasty sex somewhere else. They also might be born, they might not can do what they need to do. They damn sure get taken care of. So maybe that's why they quiet. You bring up
That's a fair point.
Y'all got deep. Yeah. So we have a question that came from the audience, and we're going to go ahead with question number 1. If you got questions about some of the topics that we're talking about, please drop them below. So do we measure our relationship worth by our ability to perform sexually? That means that, I'm going to say this again.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Measure your relationship worth by your ability to perform sexually?
Wait, when you say we, you talking personally or
People.
like as a society? So you can answer that differently.
Either or. I mean, I think the question is, do you or do society measures? So when you're meeting people and you're dating or getting into relationships, and what we just spoke on, even all forms of relationships, right? Are you measuring the worth of the relationship by sexual performance? Meaning, is it in the calculation?
Look, don't get me talking first. Y'all better say something.
Okay, so wait, anybody?
I think it being in the calculation isn't the same as like it's in the calculation, like that it's in there. Like,
But how heavy is it? Like, how
I
do you
think
weigh
it
it?
just depends
That's the question.
on the person, but it is. I'm just saying it is.
So we have people here, y'all on live. Do you feel like your sexual performance is being measured as you're dating and getting to know people? Or not? Some people say celibate, but do you think that it measures the worth of a relationship? If it's what we consider good or not?
It's just like it's a tricky. Like,
Why is it tricky?
It's like it depends, right? It's
Right, so
semantics.
like
Okay, go ahead.
So a lot of dudes, maybe when you're young, right, you're taught, man, not what you bring, how hard you drop that hammer, how well you can deliver, right? And when you're young, that's how you identify yourself. But then maybe as you get a little older, you realize that the relationship requires a little bit more and you can gain more from the relationship. So being present, realizing that you guys actually have real connections, and within that real connection is where sex, like you mentioned, sex actually is a lot better for you. And so it's not, don't get me wrong, it's not so much about the performance, but you still need to be able to perform, right? But the relationship is bringing you so much more. But I think that's more of an immature thought when you're thinking how well you perform and all of that, because just being able to bring it is not going to keep her there if you're not being able to satisfy her in
Other ways.
And then let it be a situation where you think you breaking it and you ain't really breaking it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's real though. So like, oh no, it's real. I agree with what he just said though, because you do what you need to be evolving as a person, and mental stimulation does take sex to a different, element. So I think when, like you said, we kind of like the macho, you know what I mean? When you young, like that's what you subscribe to. I did this, knock that down, da da da. And then as you get older, you're like, I ain't really got an interest in X, Y, and Z. So, but it's still, I still say it's still kind of tricky how it's worded.
So hold on, but so y'all saying, I'm gonna make sure I'm clear that you're saying as the relationship go on, it shouldn't be the only measure, but I'm just trying to understand.
Well, yes, really, as you mature, right? It's not that relationship, depending on the season that you get into it, you may not get to that depth of connection where you want more than sex from that person, right? So that's one level. But as you mature as a person, you might stop looking for just sex for sex sake and start looking for a relationship. But my issue with the phrasing of the question is as if sex is a one man show, right? Like the one person has to bring it versus we're both interacting in a way that makes the sex good. Because a lot of times, if we're talking from a male perspective, there's a weight on men to be a certain level of sexually satisfying. But when you talk to women, there's a pressure on women to also be sexually satisfying. And my thing is, well, instead of putting the weight on any one person, why don't we partner together and make this more satisfying? And when you learn that, what you create is a synergy that has a rhythm to the sex that makes it great sex. But if it's, I want to see how she throw it back before, I'm going to judge her by how she throw it back. Okay, but what are you giving to her at the same time? And vice versa. I'm going to judge it by how you lay it down, but how are you participating? We talk about pillow princesses all the time. You're just laying there and getting mad that he's not hitting the angle. Why don't you adjust and you hit those angles by moving your body, right?
So is she willing? No, so you said pillow princess. So pillow princess, male or female, right?
Yeah, right.
But is that person, would you get into a relationship with somebody that you just knocked it down with and I see immediately that they are a pillow princess?
I don't know if you can see that immediately because context matters. I mean, look, I've been married for 17 years, right? There are certain, babe, I'm sorry, I love you. We're going to be honest here, right?
No comment.
Did you get already?
Well, she know me and she knows, right? And I mean, we have 5 kids, so that should say something, right? But with that being said, every sexual experience is not the same.
Right, for sure.
So we can't judge each other by this experience because this experience has a context connected to it. It depends on the night, what was happening during the day, what was going on. Like there's so much involved. When she is on her cycle, there's a lot of factors, right? Was I gone for a while and I came back? That's a different type of sex when you come back from a trip. Ain't the same sex. So
and can you communicate that though? And like, are both parties open to constructive criticism? Because if I tell you this, are you gonna be offensive? Now, are you thinking this thing every time we have sex? You know what I mean? So I think it's the level of what is our relationship built upon, and then what's the level of can we have this conversation and actually indulge in it?
Okay, wait.
I just feel like both partners, if you're in a bedroom with, no matter where you at, couch, counter, bedroom, shower, if you guys are trying to how do I put this? If you're trying to one overpower the other one, I feel like it's not gonna work. If you guys are in the bedroom and both of you guys know that y'all putting it down and y'all immediately have conversation about it after, like, hey, babe, you did thing. And yeah, like, I don't want to go in my personal business, but there has never been a time where I have never not pleased my partner.
Right.
I'm just saying, I be trying to please him, but he please me.
Right.
That gets me off.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
The question is, do we judge the pillow princess?
Well, you mentioned communication and you mentioned growth. So also when it comes to sex, in the beginning, it could be a lot of anxieties. I don't know you, you don't know me. You start to grow, get to know each other.
Yeah.
So then as a man, I'm speaking from my side of the fence, you focus on being present, right? And you focus on eye contact, touch, intimacy, getting to know this person,
What she like.
right? And that pillow princess may no longer be that anymore
Go.
because you've shown up and you've shown her something different and you've presented yourself different and you're present in other moments which turn her on throughout the day. She thinks about this. She thinks about your leadership aspect. She thinks about your eye contact, how you speak life into her. And that, what she probably was used to being, is no more now that she's with you.
There you go.
There's
I
a
agree.
comfortability there. Chelsea, did you have something to say about this question? No? Okay. You was like,
Girl, you get me so bad because you
Okay.
got things.
so the question came down to somebody said like they didn't understand the importance of why we have sex. So I think when someone asked me this question,
I'm sorry. What?
someone asked me the question like, okay, I understand, and not to be funny, it was a female who spoke on. They didn't understand the gravity of why sex is so important. Like you measure a relationship based off the ability of sexual performance? When she was like, I only do it like duty booty, like it's something that I've learned, which we talked about learned experience in the beginning, that I give as a necessity to others, but not for myself. So when people speak on that, I think we should talk about the reasons why we have sex. You could be having sex for a number of different reasons. You could be having sex for love. You could be having sex for connection. You could be having sex for an orgasm. You could be having sex for, for quality time. I mean, you could be having sex for power. You could be having sex to gain control.
Some do it for validation.
For validation. So, like, why is it that this question, do y'all think this question is different for everybody? Like, why do we have sex? People say human nature, but the thought process behind it is not just human nature.
Mainly human nature, right?
I
think
don't-
overall. Oh, go ahead. You go ahead.
Every time he says human nature, I'm just like, or survival, I'm just like, is it? Because like to compare sex to water and food is kind of like,
people do though.
I know, but generally speaking, it's like, do you need sex to breathe
Yes.
or like to survive? Like,
100%.
if you didn't have sex in a
Play
year,
that to the camera. Where the camera
No,
at?
if you
I would
didn't
not.
Do she need this that again? Do you need sex to what?
do you need sex to survive? Like, are you going to like die
Yes.
without sex?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
what?
Thank
Like,
you. Thank you.
we're comparing sex to water.
Yes.
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 To water.
Yes.
It's essential.
Like so. Oh.
Right.
Okay.
I'm listening, but this is why I just sit there and I listen.
Wait.
because-
Wait. Okay. So wait. Let's hold
I
on.
do want you to
Hold
have
on,
to
hold on, wait.
express yourself.
So let Gabe. You said why are we comparing sex to water?
To water.
To-
I don't understand.
The
I don't
necessity
understand.
of water. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so let me ask you a question, if you don't mind. Have you ever had a wet dream or a sexual dream?
Yes.
Okay, so that was out of your control, right?
Okay.
So what happens is our body at some point is going to have to do what it was designed to do. So sex, and whatever way you call it, whether it's asexual, bisexual, whatever sexual, your body has to perform some type of a sexual act to do whatever it's programmed to do. Whether you're doing it by yourself with a partner, or if you're doing it in a dream, right? So before I started having sex, I was having what we call wet dreams. So I'm dreaming about having sex. I'm waking up in the morning, literally ejaculating, because my body on its own is going through that process of the hormones doing what it's do, preparing itself to have sex, hard-ons, all of that stuff. So at some point,
different
what you say?
than drinking water. Like,
It's not because whatever the body creates. And I'm not a doctor, and I can't explain it to that depth. I can only explain it to layman's. So it's like every morning, as a teenager, still today, I wake up with a heart on.
Yes.
Because my body is programmed to do that. It's not necessarily sexual in a way of performative, but it's still a sexual part.
Desire. Not a desire,
Just
a part of you.
Yeah, it's
like,
a part of you. It's what
yeah.
we are programmed to do,
So-
programmed to be. Now, it's not a necessity necessarily that you're just going to die.
And
Yeah, we're
that's my-
being
oh, wait a minute.
hyperbolic. We're being
No,
hyperbolic.
absolutely.
Now,
So, like, okay, so when people say, if someone say, I'm gonna, literally people
Like,
say
that's
this
extreme.
phrase, I will die without sex, right? So it's not like we hitting on a topic that you don't, people say it. You like, I'm dying over here. I need something. And that's why I wanted to say was, what is it from sex that you need?
all right, let me say this.
Is it connection?
Right.
Is it an orgasm? Is it pleasure? Is it love? Is it, you know,
It's all. Thank you.
what?
It's
I
all-
think that's what it is. Like, what do you get from it? And are you able to identify the need? Like Gabe saying,
And it's the one thing.
the animalistic need of sex, it is an animalistic need. Just like what you say, water and food and substance. Some people consider pleasure to be at the top. Like,
And not only that, it's the one thing, the only way in which we can create life. Now, once life is created, we use water and all this stuff to maintain the life. But in order to bring life, you have to have sex.
Yeah.
Or it has to be a sexual type of performance. So whether you take
Does that?
the seed from a man and a woman and put it together,
Right.
I mean,
That's the thing.
it
You
takes
have to have
sexual
sex for that.
reproductive place.
Yeah.
And that's different.
Sexual reproduction.
it's still a part of how important it was. So it was so important that whoever created us said, y'all gonna have to fuck to make some more of y'all. That's how important it is, right? You can't drink water and reproduce. You can't eat and reproduce. You can't do any of that. You got to take
Oh, I
this
can have
and
sex
this,
to reproduce
put it
either.
together, and it's going to bring it. So
2025.
it is,
Yeah,
I
mean,
but that doesn't
that's-
change the programming, right? So regardless, if that's why I said, even if you don't have a man and a woman, you still need sperm and egg.
These
So-
in these extra things were created by people to fill gaps that people saw. Not everybody wants to have sex, men and women, to have a child.
I don't disagree with that. I totally agree.
People go to the clinic to do that. Like sex, that type of sex doesn't.
But that doesn't take
And
away
hold
the
on.
natural the naturalness
it's-
of who we are.
So right, so
You know what I'm
and both of you are correct. Let me say that,
Like,
and that's why I'm
pieces
trying
of
to
it
say
too.
that sex, the need of sex, the psychological need, the mental and emotional need, the release of stress, the need to have children, the need to produce comes from that. But you have to know the need behind it, right? To some people, sex is a survival thing. It's I need sex because it's like a de-stressor for me. I need connection from you. I need to feel close to you. I need to feel mentally wanted. I need to feel validated
Mhm.
in this moment. So the need is there. And from a what you're speaking on from a sexology standpoint, it is also releasing of endorphins, oxytocins. Y'all are talking about things, hormones that your body creates, right? The body creates these things, PSA emotions, which is a hormone which men and women have that say, I love you. That comes from sex. If you ever had some really good sex and you having it constantly with this person, there will be a bond connected to that. Because that is the part of sex, the hormones that you release in your body. And we release a lot of hormones from sex.
Yeah. I think we should also discuss the male and female brain, and I'm using those terms specifically for a reason. And I mean, I urge everyone to do your own research, read your own books. But when you're dealing with the male brain and the female brain, the hormones that are released through relationships are different. And so for the male brain, typically, let me say that, the typical male brain and typical female brain, because there are atypical brains. So let me also say that to be clear. So the typical male brain the more the relationship grows, their way of feeling loved and validated by the person is through sexual experience. Meaning they could be doing everything, the cuddles, the kissing, the cooking, the whatever. When the sexual experience is lacking based off of the wiring of the brain, not just how he is as a person or personally, but the wiring of typical male brains is looking for sex from that one person. While when they're not in a committed relationship, they're not using sex to bond. They're using sex for other reasons. But if this, from the male perspective, typical male brain, if you love me, then we're going to have sex. The female typical brain, once again, is actually the opposite. They want sex in the beginning to feel love. Once they've established a relationship, the cuddling and the closeness and other forms of intimacy is enough for her to feel love. While sex now becomes an added bonus, where she's not against sex, but if they don't have sex for, and once again, typical, I'm saying everybody's different, but if they don't have sex for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, she's not questioning the love that this man has for her. But if we're not cuddling or we're not having conversation or we're not going out to eat, she's questioning the love, because when that oxytocin and all these other hormones, I don't want to bore y'all with terms, when those things get released and she begins to settle in the relationship, she's like, I mean, I love your presence. We don't even have to do this. While the man is like, the more I love your presence, the male, let me be clear, the male brain is like, the more I love your presence, the more I want to get it in. So these things have to be discussed. So that, you said what?
Is that from a westernized point of view?
No, it's, if you have to study the hormones released in the male brain and the human brain, but study it based off of different ages, right? Like different stages in life, and do a deep study, not just one book or one paper.
Right.
Like look into that.
So we have, hold on, we have some comments. What are they talking about in the comments, ladies? What do y'all see?
Excuse me. How far back you trying to go?
They'll go in.
What with some that y'all see? Just read the name. Thank you for joining. And what are they saying in the comments?
The very last comment says, from Alicia, says the need of sex is a subjective thing. What it gives to me may be totally different for somebody else. That was the very last comment.
Okay.
And so what Ms. Robin said, definitely just, it's extreme energetic intimacy. We must feel each other beyond words and body parts. You must sense me.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's big, and somebody's heart subjective. And remember that sex being a need is based off your quality of life. And a lot of people don't understand it. It's not necessarily saying like a need to live, like you need a roof over your head or water to drink, right? But you got to also look at it as a need of quality of life, right? That's the quality of life that this person feels like they need to have from sexual whatever they're getting from it, right? That's why I said, what do you get from it? And if a lot of people say what they really get from sex, you'll go down a whole nother conversation of what you get from sex. I mean, for me, I'm speaking of my personal, when I was younger, sex was about power. I didn't want nothing else from you. Like, it was power for me. It was validation for me. And I was a woman, right? And a lot of people don't normalize that, meaning that the only reason I'm even talking to you is for me. This is for me. The power and the control that came from it. But you are right. As I grew, and like I said, we learned through learned experiences, I learned that sex and connecting was pulling pieces of me away that I didn't want to share with the world anymore. Mercy. I think that comes from growth, right? You get to a place where it's like, you know what? I don't really feel like, look, my quality of life requires me to look for power in the bedroom anymore. I'm at a place where I want love. I'm at a place where I want connection. I'm at a place where I'm seeking deeper pleasure. And I think that's where you go in different phases of sex and just learning about sex as you grow and as you grow older. Some people know from day one that this is the person I want to have sex with for the rest of my life. Some people look at sex as an experiment. I want this, that, this kind, this red, blue. I want it in every color, every way, every booty shape, titty shape. I want it in every way because I want to experience sex. So I think it just comes down to those type of conversations. Anybody else before we go to the next question?
Justin, you gonna say something?
No, I ain't gonna go that deep. Because I had some, but it it'd be a whole other
It'd
conversation.
be deep. Y'all go deep. Okay. So the question
The
is,
100.
the question they asked me was, is it okay to bring up sex on the first date if you have different sexual preferences or needs?
Is it okay?
100% is okay.
We in between some people
On the
may.
first date.
Oh,
Yeah.
So this is the question that came out.
I mean, is it okay and is it wise? Are two different questions.
And I think it's
Is it
all
okay?
that because I feel like you get to see this is how you set a boundary in terms of you not, you know what I mean? If you're not ready to even go down that road, like this is the boundary. We don't have to discuss this. I want to strictly get to know you on this level. I don't want to talk about sex. But if I do, you know what I mean? You get to change the trajectory of how you want the situation to go. But I think nothing be off the table initially because one, it's going to show up eventually, and then how it shows up, like, you know what I mean? That may be a whole different type of conversation, but I don't think it should be off the table. I think
Some-
it's good out of
so you think it should?
No, I don't think he's saying it should. I think he's saying it's okay because these
Yeah.
are two different questions.
Okay.
For some
So-
people, they're gonna get turned off if you bring up
Okay,
sex.
so-
Or
So hold on. Let's rephrase.
okay.
Okay. I said, is it okay? So I guess you say, should it be okay to ask? Is that what we're saying?
No, okay. So if we're asking, is it okay? If you want to talk about money, kids, business, sex on the first date, you can. How that person responds to that, that's a whole different conversation. That can be a turn off on the first date. And so I think knowing where we are in society, this is why I said I don't think it would be wise because you don't know that person yet. And so we have to consider societal norms to a degree, cultural norms to a degree.
I would say everything is so complicated. So like, is this a first date? I just met you in the supermarket.
Right, that's what I'm about to
Or
say.
is this a first date? We've been talking,
Right.
texting for like a week.
That's fair.
Because those two things are like different. Because if it's a first date
We
and
gonna
we
let
already
everybody
been
answer
texting
this
for a
question.
week,
Okay.
9 out of 10 times we already had that conversation. So I mean, this is just like formality, like more conversation.
in-depth.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if we haven't had any of those types of conversations, no, I don't really want to talk about sex on the first date. No.
Okay. What about you? What you think?
Well, my answer is always going to be it depends. So whether you met somebody today, whether you've been talking to them for a while, it's all about their vibe,
Yeah.
right? Because you might meet somebody for the first time and y'all start talking, y'all look at each other and there's a certain energy,
Yeah.
right? And y'all might just go and handle business, right? You might have been talking to somebody forever and you're looking at them, the way they talk, the way they carry themselves, their mannerisms, the way they're treating other people, and that's completely off the table. It's a turn off. So I just think it all depends because it's happened on first dates. And it's been first dates where it's like, absolutely hell no, I'm not going to do it. Wouldn't do it. It wouldn't borrow somebody else's to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, Gabe.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, Gabe.
I was gonna say I think it also depends on the type of dating that you're trying to do. Like, is this just like social, casual dating, or is it just like dating to be in a relationship with somebody?
Okay.
And I think it's okay, but it's also okay for somebody who is not okay with it. But what I'm saying is, like Ruth said, all things should be okay to be able to put on the table, discuss, and talk about. Because it goes back again, we are people, we are human. We all have these experiences. Our experiences are different. I don't know if it would be okay for the third date, sixth date. I don't know if I got to wait a whole year to talk to you about sex. You know what I'm saying? So at some point, that conversation has to come up, however it comes up. So even on the first date, I have to have some kind of conversation to know it's not okay to have that conversation on the first date. And that might be offensive. You know what I'm saying? It could be the fifth date. And I try to bring it up, and it's still not okay. So like she was saying, you know, it's complicated.
Okay.
The way that we live is so many things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And today, so many things are shifting. And people are learning about boundaries, and we're learning about, you know, self-respect and all this other stuff. But then we're just forgetting also about community. Meaning
Yes.
that although you are your own person, we still exist together in this
That's right.
world.
That's right.
And I'm not going to know everything to not do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we need
At this
grace
point
for
in
each
time,
other.
yeah.
We need
So
grace for each other.
what happens is, like you say, it's not cool on the first date. But if you come and it's cool for you on the third date, but it's not cool for me on the third date, you might think I'm a fucking jerk off because I'm not ready on the third date. You know what I'm saying? So our boundaries cross, they overlap, and we're going to be offensive to each other. Then we got to get to a point to where we have boundaries, but we start focusing also on grace to say, hey, you're human. You are your human. You understand what you understand. You know what you know. I know what I know. So when I do come to the table on the first date and be like, just trying to talk about all things and sex come up, hey, give me a little grace. Now, if I keep trying to push the issue,
Right.
that's a different thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But hey, give me an opportunity to be able to back away, back
Absolutely.
off, because it's going to be something that you're going to do that's going to be offensive, and I should offer you that same grace.
Absolutely.
Dwayne,
I think mature people can have mature conversations. So I think
at
to me,
any time.
I really believe it. I feel like if you're mature enough to have a conversation, you should be able to have a conversation about a little bit of everything. Now, you do have, some stuff that's off the table for sure. But how do I know if off the table if I don't bring it up? And if I rub you the wrong way, are you mature enough to tell
what's
me?
off the table?
Yeah, if you mature enough
That's
to tell
the
me,
thing,
if I
what's
rub
off
you the
the
wrong way,
table.
are you mature enough to say, hey, I don't really want to talk about this, you know what I mean?
Right.
Let's just shift the conversation to this or to that. But I think it comes from maturity. And then, I think you can define maturity based upon before y'all get to this date. You know what I mean? You should be able to know what's off limits and what's not off.
If you just met in the supermarket, when do you have time to do?
Y'all had to conversate to get to the date, though.
Yeah, that
What are
have to
you
be.
doing at 7:00? Nothing. Meet me at such and such.
Yeah, but I think
Do you
Well,
have
hold
to
on,
do
hold
more
on.
than that to do a date? I mean,
But isn't having a sexual conversation part of getting to know somebody?
Mhm.
So it's not always a sexual conversation. Doesn't mean I'm trying to fuck you. Right. It could mean
Today.
I want to know what you like, what you into, or what are you out here doing? Right. What are your limitations? Are you wanting to wait until marriage? Are you not wanting to wait? Right. So it's a conversation because it's part of getting to know that person
Right.
and where they are and what they. I mean, you might be sitting across the table from somebody and they might be having sex with 3, 4, 5, 10
Yes.
people right now. Right. You need to. It's a
know that,
conversation, and some people may
Yes.
I think the discomfort with a lot of people is if it's brought up, it may be this anxiety that thinks, oh, you want to go do this right now, where this is a part of getting to know you and who you are and how you operate.
But we've normalized complication. We've normalized that. You know what I mean? Why we have to normalize being complicated? Why not be able to ask these? Because if you meet, like you say, somebody's a serial dater, you know what I mean? They say, well, I'm dating multiple people. Then your mind is,
They
are you
sleeping
having sex
with
with, you know what I mean? So those are conversations that should be able to come up. Because now I get to determine, like, don't strip my decision or answer away from me in this one particular moment. So if you say this, that, hey, respectfully, you got a lot going on, you know what I mean? This could be our last date. Or, okay, you were honest about it. I still want to get to know you. You know what I mean? You get to make that decision. And I feel like you should be able to have those conversations. That's just my
The
opinion.
comments are commenting.
Okay, wait. Sis, what do you think?
For me, it's based off of your energy and your vibe. Like, it could be somebody I've known 5, 6 years. It could be somebody I met like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'm gonna ask. That's just me because, like you said, I gotta know how many people you date. Because I'm in it. Like, I know for me, I can only speak for me. I'm in it to date somebody for marriage, long term. I'm not in it to just be fucking somebody just because I want to fuck.
Yeah.
So intention.
Yes, with the intention.
With the date.
Yeah. with
So I think okay.
It goes back, I think, for me, with some people, not everybody, I'm not saying this is your case, but I think it goes back again to that taboo type thing, right? Because there's people who are saying it's okay to talk about your credit score on the first date. It's okay to talk about finances on the first date. It's okay to talk about...
Prenups on the first date. That's diabolical. Yeah.
But there's some people who are like, no, we're not going to talk about my credit score. We're not going to talk about my background
Or
history.
kids.
You know what I'm saying? But again, it goes back to, like you said, we overcomplicate and we normalize complications and, just say, hey. And then you said that, why not ask what's on the table? Even asking what we can talk about or can't talk about can offend somebody.
Yeah.
But they could be like, what do you mean? What can we, because we just going to talk, so it's just so...
It's so cluttered.
Can we just be? You know what I'm saying?
Can we get a few comments?
The one that said, as you are getting to know that person, sure, but the first date, nah, because now I think that's your focus. Darius said, the convo will come natural. Don't force no sexual convo. Candace said, whenever the consideration of to do or not to do is centered around an external locus of control, i.e. social norms. Religious norms, cultural norms, you release your own internal authority to exist openly in safety. There is nothing wrong with having these values, but they are not the defining lenses for interaction with others. Giving room for the authentic, natural, unfiltered ideologies of a person is the most genuine way to interact. The other factors are secondary.
Okay.
I do want to say this. I'm sorry.
And Candace also says sex is always an appropriate conversation for adults. The timing is contingent on the context and boundaries of the individuals. And I agree with Candace.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think when you talk about this, here we are back on preference. And I think that's the problem when it comes down to these type of conversations is because everybody has a preference, right? Everybody, and that's what the conversation was, is can you or should you be able to tell someone on a first date your sexual preference, right? I do personally believe that the culture and mostly Black community is, we sticking it nails in these coffins hard. And to be honest with you, you can, if I was to say, hey, I am celibate, on my first date, if that's my choice and I would like to share that with this person, they can get up from that date and say, I want to work to get to know you. Or they can say, you know what, I ain't trying to be with nobody celibate right now. I want to have open sexual connection. I feel like if you meet someone and you tell them that I'm into women, I'm a poly person. These are preferences and needs. Hey, I have a need to have sex 3 times a week. If you are not a sexual person, you can choose to say, you know what? Some people think that is too much up front, but I do think that it saves a lot of time and a lot of unnecessary, ruckus in between if you would have more upfront conversations about what you're looking for.
Right.
Because we can talk about on a first date all of the green stuff, the roses and the whatever, but if we had a good time and now we in the bedroom upstairs, the first day we done talked about the countertops and how wonderful great time we done had. Now we in the bedroom, we looking weird because it ain't flowing naturally because I had an expectation that you didn't have.
And
Right.
Can I ask, did you ever say why not have that conversation on the first date?
Did I ever?
She said.
Did you ever say
like
why not have the conversation on the first date?
Yeah, you said you feel like it's a turnoff.
No, that's the.
Oh, okay.
No, I thought you said earlier that it was a turn off. You was against talking about having sex on the first date.
I feel like it's unnecessary on the first date.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about sex overall?
I think if it on the first date or
No, just period, just in general.
That's a broad question. What do you mean? Like, I like it.
Yeah,
Man,
like
yeah,
frequency, not necessarily frequency, but do you have a positive perspective?
It's important to you.
Yeah, like
Is it important? Is it
Not as much as y'all know.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm asking that, because it makes no sense to say we should have this type of conversation if it's not important to you or not as important as it is to us. Then none of the things it matters, but it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Not that trying to convert you or anything like that, but to understand you. You know what I'm saying? That's why I asked, because again, it's all about context.
Mm-hmm.
If you
it matters to me. I'm sorry. I'm gonna let it out there just as far as claim I am the girl that cares deeply about sexual connection. I believe in sexual compatibility. I believe in long-term connection. But like I said, I'm at a space where I want to transform and get to a sexual connection with someone that I can have for the rest of my life.
Absolutely.
I care.
Yeah.
About sex, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. I care. And I'm not gonna kind of brush it off or, put it to the side, because I am a woman. And I know a lot of women don't like to say these type of things out loud, right? But look at me. I care. And I'm a woman that would not feel offended from.
I said also think it's different. Like, Nita's in a relationship. That's like her goal is to be in a long-term relationship with this person. So her view on sex is going to look different from somebody else who's not in the space of, I want to get locked down tomorrow. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like those two people can potentially be thinking about things very different.
I agree.
That's all I'm saying. Responsibility in the way you approach the conversation then, right? So if you're sitting on a first date or second date, it's how does the conversation work its way in?
I've been on many first dates and we never talked about sex and it was fine. I've been on first dates where we talked about sex and I'm uncomfortable. That's my experience.
And I think that's okay.
The part I was saying is you don't have to talk about it on the first day. I think the question
Right.
was, is it okay?
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's what I was
Because
saying.
if
That's what I
there
was
is
saying.
a responsibility, right, and you know how to have the
Went back and
conversation, and the conversation presents itself, and it's right, and you start going into that conversation, then yeah, there may not be the energy or the vibe where sex is a part of the conversation. So, in my opinion, is it okay to talk about it? Yes. In every situation, would it be appropriate? Probably
No.
not.
And
Right.
thank you for saying that. And I think also to kind of help people evolve and grow a little bit, you might enter into a space with a person because you don't know this person from a can of paint, literally, right? So there is something that you are seeing that attracts you, whether it's physically, like they look good, or how they're moving, how they're handling business that looks good, or their aura or their energy that looks good. And when you see something that you like, you naturally start to envision what life might be like. Not like forever, but it's like, I wonder what, having dinner with them is like. I wonder what they like in the bedroom. That's part of it, but you don't know. So you get to know. And I think part of the problem is you can go into a space saying, yeah, I just want to have sex with this person. And when you start to interact with this person, you now get to see more. That says, you know what? At first, it was just supposed to be like a hit it and quit it. But this person's kind of interesting. Let me kind of get to know them better. If you're not open to the positive surprise of other people, you might find yourself locked down and single because you're so stubborn about what you should get from other people instead of being curious about what other people have to offer.
Right. Beyond the sex.
Beyond the sex or even beyond the conversation. Like, if we're talking as adults, I've been on the games, everything up, I'm the jersey up, right? So I'm not going to sit here like I'm a dating expert. What I will say is when it came to me and my wife, I thought she looked good, but I thought that while we were friends, she always looked good. I was young. If she was down, I'll be down. I wasn't thinking deep, right? When I decided for her to be my girlfriend, it was not because she looked good. I was able to sleep with a bunch of women that looked good. It was, there's the way that we can play around, the energy that she brings, the way the conversation flows organically. Like, she's an interesting person. And so there's a point where it wasn't even about, we didn't start having sex until we started actually dating, but we were friends for 2 years while she was attractive because of other things that had nothing to do with sex. Right. And so I think people step in and they say, okay, I want a life partner. That's cool. Why don't you find a life friend and see how that works out first? Because God forbid, if you're not working out, you're not taking your supplements, you're not getting the proper rest and all that, there will be a day where sex ain't even on your mind. For women, it might be, menopause, they dry up, whatever. For men, it's going to be ED, whatever it might be. If you're with a person for that person, right? If you open up to get to know the person, then sex will eventually come up. First date, second date, third. Who cares? We're experiencing each other and we're offering grace because I don't know you and you don't know me. But let's see if we can work out. That's all we're supposed to be doing in dating, at least I would think. We're just trying to see. Instead of drawing conclusions, oh yeah, first date, we didn't talk about sex, you're a keeper. What? No, we're not doing that.
Okay, y'all. So we got a few minutes left on our podcast. We got a question that came in as well is, how do we feel about booking the booty?
Oh yeah, scheduling the booty.
Yes. So scheduling, no. Scheduling, does it kill the vibe? If you are in relationships, people don't think that scheduling sex works. So what do y'all feel about booking the booty?
I think it works for people that it works for. And if it don't work for you, you can try for a moment and you can probably make it work. You know what I'm saying? We kind of choose and decide what things we want sometimes.
Work, what don't work? Did anybody feel like it is too calendar based?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I think it can be. I don't think it doesn't have to be, but it can be, right? I think instead of scheduling for the booty, which is not bad, I want to be clear, I don't think that's a problem. I think if that works, that's what Gabe said. That works for you, that works for you. I think scheduling time to be intimate is better. Because then if sex comes or doesn't come, there's no pressure. For some people, if they say, hey, tonight we're getting it in, it can raise a certain level of anxiety that makes it the worst sex ever. But if it's like, hey, tonight we're just going to kick it, enjoy each other's vibe, drink some wine, watch Love Experience, and just get to know each other, as human beings, then, if if that energy is there, we won't suppress it or we won't say no to it. But if it's not, or sometimes we might say we're going to be intimate and then that day's a hard day. We have to talk first. But if it's like, nah, she's expecting me to lay it down, so let me go ahead and take this honey pat. You know, it kind of, to me, it could put a rift, an unnecessary tear in the relationship versus just saying, let's just schedule planning time together where sex is an option.
So y'all are on the live. Y'all let me know. How do we feel about booking the booty?
I think it can. Oh, go ahead.
Do you feel like it adds does it kill the vibe? Does it add more pressure? Does it make it more spontaneous if you book the booty? Like, y'all are on the call, y'all are on the live. Let me know what y'all think. Go ahead.
Right. So, I mean, I think you should have a good mix of it because there's going to be times when you look at it and right, you want it. But, I mean, you could pick up the phone. Hey, baby, listen tonight. No Netflix, no cell phone, right? It's just me, right? You can set, it's about how you set it up, right? So, I mean, I've seen an older couple where they had it on the calendar at 7 p.m. That, to me, I think that's boring and BS, right? But I think it's a way, right? This weekend, we're going out of town. We're going up to the cabin, right? When we get there, and you set it up, right? Then I think you got something to look forward to. It's in her mind. It's in your mind. She getting ready for it. So I think it's all in how you book it versus just boringly sitting here and being like, yeah, so Saturdays at 3 p.m. Right? No, because I mean, people are busy. People have things going on, right? And it's cool to be like, you know, sitting, you know, you can sext each other, you can talk to each other, you can do those things and let it know. Hey, right?
And I work for the side piece too, let's be clear. When you saw the side piece, she said, yo, 3 o'clock, you home? All right, let's go. Oh, I'm sorry. This is what I mean when I say I bring the other side.
So you saying they scheduling booty anyway?
The side piece is scheduling booty. They not saying
That's because they get that at home. That's the reason why they gotta go to the side piece. I'm just saying.
I mean, that's true, but it doesn't change the fact that there is a structure sexually where it's on the calendar. Hey, wife out of town at this time, or husband's out of town at that time, you're available. They do that, and it's understood this is just sex. So it can work in a relationship if you are priority. Because when you're in that type of sexual relationship, you're prioritizing the sex. And for some relationships, sex is not a priority. But if one person wants it to be, then make it a priority. How you do it, I think you're absolutely correct. But I don't want to sit there and say it doesn't work. It doesn't work if you have certain ideas about it, but there are structures where it 100% works.
It's not for you.
And I just think, depending on your schedule, man, it could be where, hey, the kid's gone. I sent them over here. What's up? You know what I mean? We only got a 2-hour window. You know what I mean? So I think that matters as well. But, you know what I mean?
Get some lunch booty.
Hey.
I'm just saying.
Hey.
Pick up the whipped cream.
Anybody else?
All of the
strawberries.
Right. I think it does depend. So I do, as a sexologist, recommend for couples to schedule intimate time together. If they get too busy, you can't put, because life happens, or especially when you get in long-term relationships, you can kind of look over each other a little bit, just scheduling, or just so used to pushing your partner to the back burner that sometimes you do have to schedule close time or non-sexual time, because even when y'all are touching, it always has to lead to sex. Right. So then you feel like the pressure that is, every time they're around you, you gotta have sex, right, because now, so scheduling even intimacy or scheduling date nights and things like that, they do work. I think booking the booty is definitely something that people should definitely put on their calendar, because then, like you said, you can grab the strawberries and the wine, and you can go to the sex toy, you can go grab something.
Get that wax.
Right. You can go get your wax done. You ain't like, oh shoot, fumbling and bumbling.
I'm thinking
your
wax. You can get it the same day.
Yeah. So you supposed to, but she knows now. She knows Thursday, so she done scheduled her wax.
Oh, she was there Wednesday.
So I do think that it can work. And I do think it can be spontaneous. Like you said, if you say, hey, meet me here, you can really spice up booking the booty. So don't look at it like it's always a bland thing. I think booking the booty works. So we're getting ready to wrap up for the night. So before we leave, I wanted to play one game called Wild and Weird. Okay, so for people on the audience, I want to normalize taboos. Like, people like weird things, and let's normalize it by having our cast here decide whether something is wild or weird before we leave here.
Oh,
okay?
that's how the game is being played.
So, getting turned on by the sound of your partner chewing, wild or weird?
Chewing what?
Just chewing.
Because he could be chewing a lot of stuff.
I'm just saying.
Okay, is wild positive and weird negative?
Ooh, good question.
Right.
Good question. Good
Yeah.
question.
Wild means like, yeah, but it depends on the people. I want everybody to tell me.
I just
Getting turned on by your partner
Yeah,
chewing,
but I think
wild
so.
or weird?
Weird.
Okay.
Weird.
Weird. Well.
I think it's
Wild.
I'm really indifferent thinking about like depends. Like she might be on a chicken bone or something.
people sucking and chewing are different because I mean, oh, it's the same game. Oh, in that case, it's wild.
Yeah.
Okay. So letting your partner feed you during foreplay.
Oh, that's wild.
Wild or weird?
Wow.
Y'all in the comments, drop y'all wilds and weird. All right, Justin. Wild or weird?
Wow.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Letting your partner feed you? Wild.
Wow.
Wow.
All right. And our last one. Let me see. I'm going to pick a good one. Licking the back of a wrist and calling it a secret spot. Wild or
Wait, I'm
weird?
sorry. Which side's the
Hold on,
back?
what?
The wrist.
So this the back of the wrist?
Why we gotta call it the secret?
This is the back.
Because I'm
This is the back, right?
This
That's what I- Well, is this
side, so this is the outside.
This is the back of the
This is the back.
wrist. Is this considered?
Now we-
If your partner wanted to do this, wild or weird?
Right.
Dave.
Wow.
Wild.
definitely wild.
Wild.
Yeah, wow.
Wild.
Pleasure thing
Sure.
for
Yeah.
the first.
You would think it's okay?
And that could be
Yeah.
the time. Let's
I
find
feel
out
like
what
it's
life
for
is.
them.
That's not a good last question. Find
No.
out
Yes,
one.
no.
But you know, if you do a body mapping, you're gonna find some spots that you ain't know was a spot.
Yes. Actually, the wrist is an erogenous zone. Okay. All right. So, okay.
Everybody gonna go home. Hey, babe. Come here, girl.
Texting your partner sexy commands during family
Oh.
events. Wow.
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 Wow, let's go. What?
Wild or weird? Everybody says wild.
Fun.
Wow.
That's wild.
Necessary, maybe.
Necessary
Yeah. Family.
during family events.
That's so much fun.
We love that.
Turn it up.
Turn it up some more.
Turn it up some more.
Yeah, we need something that's actually weird. You ain't-
Okay, getting aroused by the smell of your partner's underwear. Wild or
Wild.
Boy.
everybody.
Wait, hold on. They just came from hooping or something like that. They just came from the gym, right?
It's dirty.
Like they just came from the gym.
Weird.
Nah, son. That natural. What?
So because this is part of the taboo.
I need contact.
Okay. Wild or weird?
It's wild. I mean, well, context does matter.
Okay. I said getting turned on,
Don't knock
getting
it.
aroused by the smell of your
Like, pick 'em
partner's
up and go.
underwear. Wild or weird?
It's wild, but I need contact. Cause you just came from working out or something. Then.
From that,
Nah.
Have you?
If they're dirty, weird. If they're clean, wow. I still like that's nasty.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a real
straight out
thing.
the gym.
straight out the gym.
Oh, yeah, I am. Ah,
That's wild.
that's wild. What? Oh my God.
So, okay, so would it be weird to like have sex with your partner straight out the gym? Like, what's the difference?
Would it be weird?
Because
I don't think it's weird.
They said the
But
sleeping.
I'm not.
oh, what's the difference like between
I'm putting my nose in it. Tell me right now.
like if you just came from the gym and you what the fuck? Like, what's the difference between me like sniffing your shit?
So wild or weird?
No, you talking about holding it to your face
Wild.
versus getting it in. That's a
Wild or
little different.
What's
weird?
the difference?
Because it ain't in my
That's
nose.
weird. It's weird to you. So, y'all, we definitely had to end the podcast tonight with the wild and weird topics.
Somebody say sniffing booty thing crazy. I agree.
Somebody in the comments said sniffing booty stains is crazy.
No.
So we're just assuming.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's what they say.
I'm sorry, I'm a very literal person. I'm very literal. You can't just say.
Okay. So someone said wild, and the last one said basically they ain't sniffing no panties or no underwear.
None.
Listen, if you catch your partner doing it, just ask them wild or weird, because this is the Raw Adult Sexpectation podcast, and we gotta get into these topics. Okay, let me tell y'all that people like what they like. Taboo, kinks, these are all part of Sexpectation podcast. So we definitely wanted to end with a little fun way to kind of normalize different things. Some people might say going to a family function and texting them while they're around their parents may be weird to them, so we don't know. But this cast is like, we all for it. So definitely ask your
That's what I'm
partner.
saying to do. Like, I was hoping had that tuck till you got in front of your dad.
Or lick your partner's wrist or ear or tongue. Lick it, because some people may think that's a wild gesture, okay? So we gonna vibe out. Before we leave, we gotta first and foremost thank Interspace Studios. Shout out to the whole family. They are always on point when it comes down to getting us in the studio and getting us right. Thank y'all for joining the Sexpectation podcast. And we're gonna have our panelists tell you one more time where you can find them on social media, and we're gonna end out. Gabe.
Facebook, Instagram, Gabriel Lyrics, GABREALLYRIX.
This number. Just Dwayne LaRue. I'm on all platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
I have 2 pages, one personal for work, Nika Chanel, and one just to cut up on Lori Harvey.
Lawrence Souffrant on that camera. Lawrence Souffrant on anything. Talking Facebook, IG, YouTube. That's where I'm most active at. Sometimes TikTok and Twitter, very rarely. And Threads. I'm trying to build that. We'll see.
My name is Chelsea. That's literally what it is. My name is Chelsea on Instagram.
All right, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you want to find me. And Life and Times JL. Come on, show me some love. But stay on my inbox.
Facts.
Dead. Okay, what's up, y'all? Y'all already know who it is. It's your hostess with the mostest. I'm Nita Love. This is the Raw Adult Sexpectation podcast, where we keep it raw and real about sex and sex topics. We will see y'all again real soon. Definitely let me know who your fan favorites are, because they will be joining us again. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.